All right, everybody, welcome back to Talk Tickers. Today, we're doing things a little differently. You know, we usually spend our time dissecting earnings calls.
Yeah.
But there's some breaking news that's just too big to ignore.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're going to dive into that today.
That's right.
And
yeah, this is exciting stuff.
It is. This is some exciting stuff. Honda just really shook things up. I mean, they just dropped a bomb. They're diving headfirst into the EV market. And they're not doing it in a small way. They're coming out with two new EVs.
Two SUVs, the Prologue.
Yes.
And the Acura ZDX.
And these are going to be built
right here in the U.S.
in Ohio. So,
interesting choice.
Yeah. Not usually the first place you think of. You know, when you think of like EV manufacturer, cutting edge EV manufacturer.
Silicon Valley, maybe.
Yeah.
Or, you know, Detroit.
Detroit, yeah. What's the play here?
Well,
is Honda trying to tap into some like hidden talent pool?
Well, they've always been.
In the Midwest, or is there something more to it?
Okay. Savvy about choosing locations for their factories.
Okay.
And there's always some advantage, right? Whether it's, you know, skilled labor or strategic location for distribution.
Makes sense.
Or sometimes even government incentives.
Oh, yeah, of course, the government incentives. Yeah. I mean, they've always been good at maximizing efficiency, minimizing costs. So this kind of makes sense.
Absolutely.
But let's back up for a second.
Yeah.
Honda, the company known for, you know, Civics and Accords, fuel-efficient cars. They're going all in on electric.
Yeah, this is a big deal.
This is a big change.
I mean, they've been doing alternative fuel vehicles for a while.
Right.
You know, they have hybrids. They've even dabbled in hydrogen fuel cells.
Yes.
But this is different. This is like a real commitment to being
this is a statement,
a major player in the EV market.
Yeah, they're like, okay, we can't sit on the sidelines anymore. Tesla's out there building the future. We gotta get in the game.
Yeah, you can't ignore Tesla forever. You know, they've been the leader for so long.
Yeah.
But Honda's coming in. They're coming in strong.
They're bringing their A game.
They have a lot to offer.
But they're stepping into a crowded arena.
It's a tough market.
Tesla's the king.
Yeah.
You got Ford.
Ford's ramping up. GM's going electric.
Everyone's going electric. How do they carve out a space for themselves?
It's a good question.
In this increasingly competitive landscape.
It's one that's probably keeping a lot of Honda executives up at night.
I bet that would be.
You know, they've always been good at innovating and adapting.
That's true.
And I don't think they're going to just sit back and let everyone else take the lead.
This is the company that disrupted the status quo.
Right.
With fuel-efficient engines.
Exactly.
Groundbreaking safety features.
They're not afraid to try new things.
And let's not forget the motorcycles.
Oh, yeah. The motorcycles are iconic.
Yeah.
They've got a legacy of innovation.
So what kind of innovations are we talking here? Are they just going to play it safe and follow the Tesla playbook?
Well, that's what everyone wants to know.
Or are they going to shake things up?
Right.
Do something different?
We don't have all the answers yet.
Okay.
But there are some clues that they might be taking a slightly different approach.
Okay. I like clues. Give me clues.
Okay. Well, first of all, they've chosen to focus on SUVs.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
It is interesting.
Because that's a segment where they already have a strong presence.
The CR-V?
The CR-V, the Pilot.
Yeah.
Very popular models.
Yes.
And that suggests to me that they're maybe targeting a more practical, family-oriented buyer.
Okay.
Rather than the early adopters and the tech enthusiasts who have flocked to Tesla's sedans.
All right, so they're going for that sweet spot, familiarity and innovation.
Something that feels recognizable.
Something that feels familiar, but also exciting.
But new at the same time.
Okay, but SUVs are not known for being fuel efficient. So how does that square with Honda's whole thing?
That's the challenge, isn't it?
A reputation squeezing every mile out of every gallon of gas.
But they've already made strides in developing fuel-efficient technologies, both in their gasoline engines and in their hybrid models.
Yeah.
So it's not a stretch to think that they could leverage some of that knowledge and those engineering principles to create EVs that offer impressive range and efficiency, even in an SUV format.
They got the track record to back it up.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the elephant in the room.
The battery.
The battery.
The batteries.
That's the heart of any EV.
Yeah.
And it's the biggest hurdle for most manufacturers right now.
It's the Wild West out there.
It is.
When it comes to battery technology.
Yeah.
Everyone's scrambling to secure supplies.
Yeah.
Develop new chemistries.
Figure out how to make these things.
Make them powerful. Affordable.
Affordable, yeah.
It's a challenge.
It is.
So what's Honda's game plan?
Are they going to partner up with somebody?
They've already announced a partnership with LG Energy Solution to build a massive battery factory right here in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
So that tells us they're taking the supply chain issue very seriously.
Right. That's smart. Especially with all the geopolitical uncertainty surrounding.
You have a secure supply chain.
Critical minerals and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But partnering with LG doesn't necessarily mean they're not also investing in their own battery tech, right?
Right. It's entirely possible that they're doing both.
Yeah.
They have a long history of in-house innovation.
They do.
And it wouldn't be surprising if they were working on their own battery solutions behind the scenes.
I mean, that would give them...
Because that's a key component.
A significant competitive advantage.
Exactly. If you can control the battery.
If you can make your own batteries, you're in a good spot.
You're in a very good spot.
Okay, so they're taking a multi-pronged approach to the battery challenge.
Secure the supply chain.
Yeah, securing the supply.
But also maybe developing their own cutting-edge technology.
Your own tech. But let's not forget, the battery's just one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it.
There's charging infrastructure.
Right.
Software integration.
The whole user experience.
The whole user experience.
It's not enough to just build a great car.
Yeah, you got to create a whole ecosystem around it.
You got to make it easy to own.
Make it enjoyable to use.
Easy to use.
Easy to charge.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
Because now Honda's not just competing with other car companies.
Right.
They're competing with tech companies.
Oh, yeah?
Apple, Google.
They're coming for the car market.
They want to be in the car.
Yeah.
With their software and connectivity.
Yeah, it's like the battle lines are being redrawn.
Right.
And it's not just about horsepower and torque anymore.
It's about data.
User interface.
User interface.
User interface.
The whole thing's changing.
Yeah. So how does a company like Honda, with its roots in mechanical engineering, manufacturing,
how do they adapt?
How do they adapt to this new reality?
I don't know.
Do they partner with a tech company?
That's a good question.
Develop their own software expertise?
Maybe they do both.
Do both. I guess time will tell.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
So we got Honda, known for reliability, fuel efficiency, diving headfirst into the EV market, betting big on SUVs, partnering with LG for batteries, facing off against a whole new set of competitors. There's one question that's still lingering in my mind.
What's that?
Why Ohio?
Why Ohio?
What is so special about this particular state? That made Honda choose it as the launchpad for their EV ambitions.
Yeah, that's a great question.
It is.
And it deserves a closer look.
It does.
So let's dive into the factors that might have influenced Honda's decision in part 2 of our deep dive.
That's good to me. Sounds good to me. All right, so why Ohio? What's the deal?
Well, it might seem a little surprising at first, but when you look closer, there are some pretty compelling reasons.
Okay, I'm all ears.
All right, well, for one, Ohio's got a long history in the auto industry.
Right.
It's been home to major manufacturing plants for decades.
Yeah.
Including some of Honda's biggest rivals.
So they're setting up shop.
Yeah.
Right in the lion's den.
Yeah, kind of like that. And that means there's already a skilled workforce there, people with experience building cars.
Okay.
Working with complex supply chains.
So even though building EVs might require like a slightly different skill set, there's a foundation there.
There's a base there that they can build on.
That Honda can build on.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's not just the workers, there's a whole network of suppliers.
Oh.
And supporting industries already established in that region.
So it's not just about finding people to work on the assembly line. It's about having a whole ecosystem.
The whole supply chain ready to go.
Makes sense.
And that's a huge advantage.
Especially when you're trying to ramp up production quickly.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got the workforce, we've got the supply chain. What else?
Well, don't forget about the government.
Oh, right.
Ohio's been actively courting EV manufacturers.
They want them there.
Offering incentives tax breaks.
Oh, yeah. The sweet sound of government subsidies.
Gotta love it, right?
Right.
And those incentives can make a big difference when a company's deciding where to invest billions of dollars.
I bet. I mean, every dollar saved is a dollar they can put back into R&D or use to lower the price of their cars.
Exactly. So it's a win-win.
Yeah.
And on top of the financial incentives, Ohio also has some logistical advantages.
Oh, like what?
It's centrally located, easy access to major highways transportation hubs.
So they can get those EVs out to dealerships all over the country.
Easy peasy.
No problem.
And that's important when you're competing in a fast-moving market like EVs.
Okay, so we got the workforce, the supply chain, government incentives, strategic location. Sounds like Ohio was tailor-made for this.
It does seem like a good fit.
But there's got to be some challenges too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a flip side.
Of course there are always challenges.
So what are we talking about here?
Well, for one thing, Honda's going to have to adapt to a different business culture.
Okay.
Different regulatory environment in Ohio.
Right. In different states.
Yeah.
Different laws, different regulations.
It can be a headache sometimes.
For companies.
That's for sure.
Trying to do business across state lines.
Yeah, and then there's the question of public perception.
Oh, right.
You know, some people might be skeptical
of a Japanese company.
Of Honda's commitment to building EVs in the U.S.
Yeah.
Especially with their history of importing cars from Japan.
I mean, there's always that Buy American sentiment.
There is.
So they're going to have to convince people that these EVs are truly American-made.
You got to prove it.
Not just assembled here.
Yeah, show that they're creating jobs, boosting the local economy.
Okay, so there's some hurdles to overcome, but it sounds like overall the advantages outweigh the disadvantages.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so we've covered the why of Ohio. Now let's talk about the...
What? The EVs themselves.
Those two new EVs.
The Prologue and the Acura ZDX.
Honda's first serious foray into the electric market.
Yeah, they're not messing around anymore.
No more dipping their toes in the water.
Full-on cannonball.
They're diving in head first.
Exactly.
So they need to make a splash.
They gotta impress.
They gotta convince people that these EVs are not just good for a Honda. They're good, period.
Yeah, they gotta compete with the best.
Tesla.
Bait.
Ford.
The big boys.
They gotta prove they can build electric cars that are just as desirable.
Just as capable.
Just as innovative.
Yeah, they gotta bring it.
Because in the EV market, it's not just about the car itself. It's about the whole package.
The whole experience.
Yeah.
It's got to be seamless.
It's got to be enjoyable.
It's got to be a real alternative to gas-powered cars.
An alternative that's good for the environment. Good for your wallet.
Good for your lifestyle.
And it sounds like Honda's up for the challenge.
They seem ready.
Okay, so Honda's stepping into the EV ring. Two brand new SUVs. The Prologue. The Acura ZDX. They're building them in Ohio, a state with a rich automotive history and a supportive government. They're facing off against fierce competition in a market that's rapidly evolving. But there's one question that's still lingering in my mind.
What's that?
What's under the hood?
Yes. The heart of the matter.
What kind of technology is Honda packing into these new EVs? What kind of range and performance can we expect?
Those are the million-dollar questions.
They are.
And those are the questions we'll be tackling in part 3 of our deep dive.
All right, so stay tuned as we take a closer look at the heart of Honda's electric ambition. All right, so we're back. We spent the last 2 parts talking about Honda's big EV play. Their decision to build 2 new electric SUVs, the Prologue and the Acura ZDX, right here in the U.S. and Ohio. But now it's time to pop the hood and take a closer look at what's powering these bad boys. What kind of technology are they packing under the hood to take on the likes of Tesla, Ford, and GM?
Yeah, that's the big question. And while Honda hasn't released all the details yet, we can make some educated guesses based on their past performance and industry trends.
Okay, so again with your best predictions.
Well, let's start with the battery. We know they've partnered with LG Energy Solution to build that new factory here in the U.S., which tells me they're going for a high-quality, reliable battery pack.
Makes sense. You don't want to skimp on the battery.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to build a reputation for reliability in the EV space.
Absolutely. And knowing Honda's focus on fuel efficiency, I wouldn't be surprised if they aim for a battery that delivers impressive range.
Yeah, that's always been their thing, right? Squeezing every mile on every gallon of gas. So it makes sense for them to try and translate that to the EV world.
For sure. And to do that, they'll probably be looking at advanced battery chemistries and thermal management systems.
Okay, so cutting edge battery tech. What about the motors?
Yeah.
Are they going with single motor, dual motor, maybe even tri-motor setups, like some of the high performance EVs out there?
That's a good question. I think they'll probably offer a mix of options to appeal to different buyers. Maybe a single motor setup for the base models, focusing on efficiency and affordability.
Okay, so for the folks who just want a reliable, eco-friendly daily driver.
Exactly. And then maybe dual motor setups for the higher trim levels, offering more power and performance.
For the people who want a little more pep in their step.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe they'll even surprise us. with a high-performance tri-motor variant just to really show off what they can do.
Now, that would be something. But it's not just about the battery and the motors, right? There's a whole lot of software and technology. That goes into making a modern EV tick.
Oh, yeah. The software is becoming just as important as the hardware these days.
It's all about that seamless user experience. The intuitive infotainment systems, the advanced driver assistance features, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So what can we expect from Honda on the software front? Are they going to develop their own systems in-house, partner with a tech giant, or maybe try a hybrid approach?
That's a tough one to predict. Honda's always been pretty quiet about their software development plans.
Yeah, they're more known for their mechanical engineering than their coding skills.
That's true. But they've also shown that they're willing to adapt and embrace new technologies when they need to.
So you wouldn't be surprised to see them partner with a software company to make sure their EVs have a competitive edge on the software side.
Not at all. And who knows, maybe they'll even surprise us with some innovative in-house developments.
Okay, so we got high-tech batteries, powerful motors, and hopefully some slick software to tie it all together. But at the end of the day, what really matters is how these EVs perform in the real world.
Absolutely. The specs on paper only tell part of the story.
Right. We need to know how these cars handle, how comfortable they are, how far they can go on a single charge.
How they stack up against the competition in terms of features, tech, and overall value.
Yeah, those are the questions that consumers are going to be asking. And those are the questions that Honda's going to need to answer if they want to succeed in the EV market. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out. But I'm feeling pretty optimistic about Honda's chances.
Yeah, I am too. They have a lot going for them. Strong reputation for reliability, history of innovation, and they're clearly committed to making this EV thing work.
Plus, they're building these cars right here in America, which I always love to see.
Absolutely. It's great to see them investing in American manufacturing, creating jobs here at home.
All right, well, I think we've covered just about everything there is to cover on Honda's big EV play.
Yeah, I think we hit all the major points.
From their strategic decision to build in Ohio, to the technology powering their new SUVs. But before we wrap things up, we got to do our This Is Not Financial Advice segment, where we come up with some outrageous but strangely plausible trade ideas.
My favorite part.
So based on everything we talked about today, what's your hot take? What's the one crazy trade that could make someone a fortune? If Honda's EV bet pays off big time.
Let me think. Okay, how about this? A long-term call option on a basket of Ohio-based auto parts suppliers.
Whoa, okay. Now that's thinking outside the box.
Right. If Honda's EV production ramps up like they're planning, it's going to create a huge ripple effect throughout the local economy.
Yeah, those parts suppliers are going to be busy turning out components for all those new EVs.
Exactly. And if their business booms, their stock prices could go through the roof.
That's a pretty clever play. But remember, folks, this is just for fun. We are not financial advisors. And this is definitely, absolutely, positively not financial advice.
Always do your own research and talk to a qualified professional before making any investment decisions.
All right, that wraps up another deep dive here on Talk Tickers. We hope you enjoyed our conversation about Honda's electrifying news. And as always, thanks for listening to Talk Tickers, your go-to source for all things earnings calls and beyond. We'll catch you next time.